A couple of tips that I want to give you when doing your printables. The first one is the type of paper you use. I do recommend using a little bit heavier quality paper than, your typical white copy paper. Not anything super heavy like a cardstock, but like this, just a little bit heavier, a little bit better quality. And this is in an off-white, and that's my other recommendation, is don't use a a bright white paper. Use an off-white paper. It just looks a little bit nicer when you cut all your scriptures up and put them in your jar. And also for some of the printables we're going to be doing on the outside of the jar, and you'll see why here in a little bit, but you're going to want something that's not bright white to put on the outside of your jar. So that's my first recommendation for your printables. Okay, and my third tip for your printables is, I don't know if all of you have a lot of experience in working with Word, but there are a couple of things that you can do that will make this process a lot easier for you if you're doing this printable for more than one person. The first one is to do the replace feature so that you don't have to go in, because there's close to 100 scriptures here, so that you don't have to go in and retype the name or copy paste over and over again. So you can see I just highlighted the name Isabella, and I simply do copy, and then this is on the home tab of Word, and over here on the end is the replace feature. So you click that, and this little box comes up in the middle of the screen, and you can see it already, because I had Isabella highlighted, it already filled in find what Isabella and replace it with what, and then go ahead and put in the name of the person that you want to make your scripture box for, your scripture jar for, and then go ahead and click, I can find my mouse, replace all. And see, it asks if you want to do the 98, or that it tells you rather that 98 replacements were made. Do you want to continue searching at the beginning? Yes, I always do, just to be sure it didn't miss one, but I know that there's 98 scriptures, so it got all of them. And then we can go ahead and close that. And you can come back and see that it replaced all of the Isabellas with Kathy. So that is just going to make your life a lot easier. And now the other thing is, you can see, the last thing rather, is that I do have a bit of space in between each scripture, and I think it takes 10 pages. It's 10 pages for close to 100 scriptures, 98 scriptures. You're going to want to leave that space in between the scriptures, because it's going to give you some cutting room and a little easement around your scriptures. Yep, that's all I can think of for the scriptures. When it's time to do the printables for the outside, I'll show you a couple of tips there. Okay, to really personalize the jar, this is what I do. Of course, you're going to be your project. You feel free to do it however you want. But again, I go to Word to do the printables for the outside of my jar. And I go to the Insert tab. And the first thing I do is type in God speaks to ... And then I highlight that and go up here to Word Art. Now the one I like for this is this kind of one that looks like a wave. So I choose that, and this is the screen that pops up, and this is where you can choose your font and the size of the font. I find that this 36 font works pretty good, so I just leave it there. And so I select OK, and you can see it changed my type here. Now, for my purposes, I like to go up here to Shape Fill, and I like to change it to a dark brown. And you see it change that to a dark brown for me. So then I just enter a few times to give myself a little space, and then I put in the person's name. And again, I highlight it and go back to Insert, Word Art, the wave shape, say OK, and then change to the color up here where it says Shape Fill to dark brown. And there's her name. Now, the reason I give this quite a bit of space like this is because we're not going to be cutting this out. We're going to be tearing it. So you need to give yourself a little easement in case something goes a little bit crazy when you're tearing. Alright, and then I go ahead and, again, this is completely optional and totally, up to the taste of the person that you're doing this for. But this person has a couple of emblems that are special to them. So I'm going to go ahead and print those emblems also, if I can find some clip art that matches pretty well. So again, just go to Insert, and I'm going to choose clip art this time. And that opens this screen on the side. And I'm going to search for church. And see what kind of results I get. And it takes it a few minutes to search through all the possibilities. And immediately I see the very first one I like. Let's see if I can get that to focus. It's not wanting to focus. That's a little better. It's a pretty image, so I'm going to go ahead and select that one. And when I click on it, it automatically puts it in here. Now, a couple of things I do so that I can arrange it, just put it on the page wherever I want it. I right click, go to text wrapping, and tell it to be behind text. And that will give me the ability to move it where I want. So I'm just going to move it over here to the side, kind of out of the way, because again, I'm not going to be cutting this out in a perfect square. I'm going to be ripping it and kind of roughing up the edges, so it's not going to be perfect like this when I put it on my jar. And another thing that she really likes is bees. So let me see if I can find something with bees. That won't be too cutesy. That will kind of match the style of the church. I think that's a pretty good right here. It's kind of soft because I think those are too cartoonish. That's a nice one too. Okay, I think the first one I saw is the one I like. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that one. And again, it just put it over here where my cursor was. And I'm going to tell it to go the text wrapping behind text, and now I can pick it up and move it wherever I want it. So that leads me to my last tip for you with these printables. If you use a laser printer, particularly a laser color printer, you're going to get a very beautiful reproduction, and you're going to get something that is not going to smear or bleed. If you use an inkjet printer and you use decoupage or Mod Podge, Collage Podge, any of those types of glues, they're water-based and they're going to cause your inks to run. But if you use a color laser printer, you're going to get beautiful results every time. Most of the time, if you don't have a color laser printer at home, check your local library, your local media centers. There are a lot of different places, print stores, that's not going to charge a lot to print one page on a color laser printer. I mean, you're looking at maybe 50 cents a page, maybe $1 a page, but like I'm doing 3 jars, and if I had to bring this somewhere, I would be looking at a maximum of $3 to get these 3 pages printed. So it's well worth it, because trust me, you're going to get much better, much more clean results with a color laser printer. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and print this, and I'm going to show you how I assemble it on the jar.